Property Elevator is proudly sponsored by Crowd Property.
Hello and welcome to Series 4 of Property Elevator. In this show, we give budding developers the chance to pitch their deals to our 5 seasoned property professionals, or who we call our property investment angels. These are John Howard, our chair angel, Helen Chorley, our number cruncher, Nicholas Wallwork, our creative thinker, Paul Mahoney, our investor from Down Under, and Ranjan Bhattacharya, our YouTuber. Now, we know that property is not a game for the faint-hearted. With hundreds of thousands, if not millions of pounds at stake, yes, the rewards can be great, but if it goes wrong, it can go very wrong very quickly. This is why it's fantastic that not only could you walk away with the financial backing of one of our angels, but you also get their expert knowledge, which we know is just as important. So with that being said, let's do some deals.
At this stage, what you presented, it's too high risk, and I don't think it will stand.
With the existing configuration, I'm not sure whether you'll get a flat layout that would be optimum.
So the return on cash is only about 30 to 40%.
So Ruth, I'm giving you 80,000 for 6-9 months, whatever it might be, hopefully less than a year. And what are you making?
Always good to have skin in the game. We like that.
Hello and welcome to episode 2 of series 4 here at Property Elevator. We've had some fantastic deals so far. Some haven't been so great and they've not gone away with their backing as they'd have hoped for, but all in all, it's been fantastic for our pitches. How excited are you to be here today?
Very excited.
Yeah.
First time in my life doing something like this.
Okay, so stepping out the comfort zone a little bit.
Yeah.
Always a
Very excited.
positive though.
Little bit of nervousness, shaky, yes.
Yeah, you'll be fine once you
yeah.
get in there, don't you worry. So tell us a little bit about the deal then that you've brought today.
The deal I brought today is a deal which is where I'm living at the moment in Chelmsford in Essex.
So it's nice and close?
Yeah.
Good.
So this deal is about 40 minutes away from my home, near about Colchester.
Okay.
It's a conversion from a currently occupied as an office building
Right.
by the owner themselves. So the deal is to convert them into residential from the commercial, and then hopefully there are few different angles to it, whether we can convert into a few flats,
Yeah.
or two semi-detached, or maybe one big
house.
mega detached property.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
well, excellent. Good luck.
Yeah, thanks.
We're going to send you in now,
Yeah,
and
thank
I
you.
will speak to you when you get out.
Thank you.
All the best.
Yes, bye.
Saumen, thank you very much for coming in today. Let's hear about your deal.
Thanks very much, everyone. Hi, I'm Saumen Paul. I'm living in Chelmsford at the moment. Coming up with this deal here, as you can see, it's near where I live, around 40 minutes away from Chelmsford, a place called Ardleigh, which is near Colchester town, around 4 miles away from Colchester town. This is an existing office building. I think it's Class E, as the estate agent is saying, occupied by the owner themselves for their business, but they're short staffed now, so they want to sell it off and move on. So my plan is to convert this into a residential accommodation. The whole building can be converted into residential. There doesn't need to be any commercial space left in here. It's 3-story, and there's a basement down there as well. The good thing with the basement is if you go towards the back, the basement, the 60% of the basement is above ground. So there are potentials that you can actually put some windows or daylight there to make some more space in there. So that's the deal in short. I have seen the property on a few different angles. Initially, my plan is to see if we can make 2 flats on each floor and convert into possibly to 6 flats. Yeah. But after I did the viewing, which was 2 days ago, if you see the width of the building is not great.
Very narrow.
It's probably around 15, 16 feet possibly. So say you won't probably have 2 flats on each floor. The most probably you can get out of it is 1 big flat and 1 floor. Now there are a few different pros and cons with that. This staircase running in the middle of the building. The other thing could be split the building into half and to make 2 semi-detached properties. There are actually 2 existing doors. I'm not sure whether this was a semi-detached property in the past or not. There are actually 2 doors on either side of it. So there's 1 door you can see here, the similar one on the other side. So if you can make 2 semi-detached properties, that would work as well. And the third option could be to make the whole building into a big, massive detached property.
Yes.
I've spoken to one of the well-known estate agents in the area to discuss what their view is on the pricing in the area and what's the more, what will get more attention in terms of selling, which I thought as well. So in the area itself is more popular for like semi-detached, detached type of properties. Yeah. There's not much demand, answer demand, but any property will probably sell anyway. But there's not much demand for probably flats in those kind of areas. It's slightly away. It's like a village in area. Yep. So his view was the most profitable would be 2 semi-detached properties, where you can probably get a better value out of it when you sell it. A big, massive detached property will probably still can go up to certain level only. You can't stretch any further. So I've got some from discussion. I've got some like estimated valuation, which is not like cast in stone, so it can go up and down anyway. So his fee was somewhere between 425, 450 could sell for semi-detached properties like this. If it's a 3 to 4 bedroom semi-detached properties, even if we say conservatively, if it's a 400, and that will be 800, for example, and a detached property probably will go probably around 650-ish, maybe. Okay. There's an example in the handouts where the property was sold, which is 3-4 building down, Mill House, I think, 750-ish. It was sold last year, I think. But again, we don't know the details of it. That building might be much more bigger than this space we have here. The asking price at the moment is 495. They're saying in excess of 495. So if you say, I didn't put any offer yet. It just came to the market 3 days ago. This property was sold in 2007 for 340. So try to extrapolate from there how much that could be now. Okay. Taking inflation of around 3% year to year, because it's commercially average, residentially says 5%. That comes to around 514-ish.
Property Elevator is proudly sponsored by Crowd Property. Property Elevator is proudly sponsored by Crowd Property.
What's your full-time job?
I'm a managing quantity surveyor in a good reputed company, construction company at the moment.
Are you?
Yeah.
Well, so you've got a great handle on the figures anyway. That's good. Excellent.
Yeah.
Right. Who would like to start?
What are you looking for in terms of investment?
The one thing I don't have is I have ideas, I can manage the things, I don't have the money. The most I can invest in here is probably around 25,000. The rest of the money, which is say 500,000 of the cost of the purchase of the building, I guesstimated say around, if we do 2 semi-detached, if it costs 100,000 each, I'm actually looking for almost all of it.
Well, that's absolutely fine, because that's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. So, Ranjan?
The proposal then, I mean, you've looked at semi-detached, you looked at detached. I mean, I'm not convinced the future of this building is as houses, because in that market, whether people want the front door straight on the pavement with no garden or anything like that, I'm not convinced. Yeah. If that being said, you've looked at it as a flat scheme, have you? What do you? There are some buildings with. I mean, you can convert Class E buildings from offices into residential use under PD, but with some buildings, the floor plate is just such that it's a bit too difficult to make work. Yeah. What configuration have you looked at if the end game is flats?
We can benefit massively from 2 flats on each floor if we can extend the building in the back.
Yeah.
That will give a massive advantage because you will have nice, decent possibly one nice, decent size 1-bedroom flats, or maybe you can squeeze 2 bedrooms if it's possible. Depends on what we plan in the extension. In the current stage, it seems a bit too tight because you see, as I said, it's a 15-16 foot wide, thick, deep. Now we'll be struggling to configure 2 rooms, kitchens, bathroom in that space. It'll be maybe a studio will be you can probably do a studio in there. But then again, I'm not sure that the demand for studio or those kind of flats is there in that place.
To be honest with you, that's one of the problems I see with this building, because to extend it is not PD. That's full
No,
planning.
the planning
That will
permission,
take a long time. And what I like to do is look at, well, if you buy the building, what can you actually slam dunk with PD in the minimum time and use that as the baseline. And with the existing configuration, I'm not sure whether you'll get a flat layout that would be optimum. The other thing I'm wondering is with the basement. The basement has no natural light. So it's
currently don't have any
full
natural
planning
light.
to get any light in there.
Yeah.
So if you consider the floor space just above ground floor, you're in at roughly about £200 a square foot in terms of purchase. And if you're talking about, at least £100 a square foot to build, and £300 a square foot end value, then there might not be much in it just on PD alone. You're fully hingent on getting planning permission to do something to develop this site.
The other way
do you think
is,
I'm right on that, or
I understand what you're saying. Yeah, that's what I thought as well. The other thing is we can build one big flat in one floor. Again, if we have to shift the staircase and all. I'm not sure whether that needs planning permission or not.
No,
possibly
it wouldn't. What would those 3 flats sell for if you have 1 per floor?
That's another chance. If 1 2-bedroom flats, as talking to the agents, probably around 180, 200, which is not profitable.
It doesn't work for that.
That doesn't work.
Will not be profitable.
What is the juice in this deal? Because the way I'm trying to cut it every which way, I'm not seeing much, if I'm entirely honest.
But even the best option makes 100 grand.
Exactly.
That's before interest.
15%. It's going to be less than
12.5%,
isn't it?
I just think, the guys say it a lot. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it, and that's one of them for me. So I just, it's not for me.
What sort of business is in there at the moment?
I think they're running a recruitment business there.
I think the other thing is, one of the reasons why agents price this sort of building in this sort of way is that they're kind of hoping that an owner-occupier business will pick this up. Because if an owner-occupier business and the directors of them buy it in their pension, it will make it attractive to have that with a bit of car parking and run their business out of it. So it may be that this building is priced not expecting someone to come along and develop it, but to occupy it as that sort of business. That's just a view because of the price point of it. I think it's too expensive to develop.
So let me declare my interest. Okay, I made an offer for this building back in 2007. By memory, and I'm pretty good at my memory when it comes to money and when it comes to property, I think we offered 250,000 for this. Wow. Now, at the time, that was 2007, which was the height of the property market. Okay, so although you've got this mathematical calculation that's been done.
Extrapolation.
Yes. I don't even understand what that means, Helen, but you'll be able to explain that to everyone. But basically, I think that's probably pretty false. And we were looking to do somehow 6 flats in it with a small extension at the back at the time. This is before PD, of course. But the bit you're missing, I think, with all due respect, is the car park is a very good size. It's a good size. And I would have thought you could get a pair of semis on that car park. Now, one thing that in my mind, 2 things in my mind are this. One, there's a railway line quite close by.
The level crossing there.
Which is never great. 2, the building is right on the road, although it's not unattractive. And we do a lot of vertical splits. So everyone gets obsessed with flats. But sometimes if you split it vertically and you've got entrance either side of this, then actually it's a cheaper conversion and much easier to sell sometimes. So that's one option. But the price is too much at the moment, unless we did a pre-application, which is always a good thing to do, and see whether we can get some
Semi-detached.
two semis in the car park. The other issue you need to check is it in a flood zone? Because my memory tells me there's a nice big park behind it, but my memory tells me it might be in a flood zone. So let me tell you where I am, and that is that it's too much for me to invest in at the moment, but I would suggest you go away, do some more research on it, and then potentially, we might be able to do something at a later date with it. So thank you for bringing it today, but similar to Helen, as it stands, it isn't one I could invest in today.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll be quick and pain-free. It's definitely not one for me. I like to sit here and sort of get excited as the pitch goes on, and then find my own loopholes and things you might have missed, and that will add value again. And I think, that would be a great team to go and build this out. But you've explored every option on this. You've come here, you don't really know what you want to do with it anyway. And I don't think that's through lack of experience. I think it's because there isn't an obvious way of developing this that makes lots of money. So for me, it's not one at all. And but I wish you well in your journey. I recommend this site. It's probably not for you though.
Thank you.
Paul?
Yeah, just to echo some of the stuff that's already been said. Just because it's there doesn't necessarily mean it should be converted to residential. I don't think I agree with Ranjan. I don't think it's priced for a conversion to residential. So best case scenario, it breaks even, which means it's not worth doing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming today, and good luck in your property journey.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
When you made your offer last, I was sitting there with bated breath, expecting you
Wondering
to pull
how I'm going to pull something out of that one. Yeah. I was
And then you
really trying.
disappointed me.
There's no way. There's just no chance on that one.
There is literally. I remember. Obviously, I know it's just come back on the market as well. And the only trick to this deal is whether you can get planning in the car park.
Yeah.
Planning, isn't it?
And the one thing he didn't even suggest was that.
So how did it go?
It went well, as in
Yep.
well in the sense I presented the deal, they listened to it. I didn't end up getting any offers.
Okay.
I think they give me some good feedback on the things which may or may not be as I'm thinking it is,
Okay.
which is good. But that's fine because I'm just a beginner, so I'm not I'm investing in only from last year.
Yep.
So maybe lack of knowledge and experience in the field. So it's a good experience and
Great.
a learning
Got some good
experience.
feedback
Yeah, good
from them.
feedback.
Yeah. So was it maybe not as profitable as what you originally anticipated?
That's what they think. So
Okay.
it may not end up as profitable as I'm thinking it is, which means it may not be an attractive deal for them as an investor.
Yeah.
Which is fine. As I said, it's a learning experience.
Sure.
I'm learning
Yeah.
slowly.
Yeah.
Hopefully, if there's a next season, I'll be coming
You'll
up
be
with
back.
a better deal.
Yeah, we'd love to have you
Yeah,
back.
yeah,
Yeah, please do.
yeah.
Get on the hunt and come back in summertime.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Resham, welcome to Property Elevator.
Thank you.
Where have you travelled from today?
I've come from East London today, so not too far. It's
Yeah.
been a good journey.
Good, good. And tell us a little bit about your property experience.
So I've done a little bit of residential property in the past.
Yeah.
Purchased from auction and from the open market.
Okay.
So I've built up a small buy-to-let portfolio.
Yeah.
And just looking to take it to the next step, and which is why I'm here today.
Great. So what's the deal you've brought today
So
then?
the deal is a commercial to residential conversion.
Nice.
It's based in East London, Plaistow, and it consists of the commercial on the ground floor
Yep.
and office uppers.
And how much are you after today? From the...
So I'm after 1.45 million
Yep.
from the Angels and looking to have a final GDV of around about 2.1 million.
Brilliant. So nice margin in there.
Yeah, I hope so.
Resham's coming in next. East London, I think.
Within the M25?
Within the M25. Qualifies for you, Ranjan, if no one else.
And I'm doing a deal there at the moment, actually, so.
Ah, that's interesting. So maybe some competition for this one. Shall we get him in and see what he has to say?
Yes.
Resham, thank you very much for coming in today. It's a pleasure to meet you. Can you tell us who you are and all about the deal, please?
Thanks, John. So I'm looking for funding of £1.45 million. It's for a commercial to residential conversion in Plaistow, East London. So the deal consists of 2 commercial units on the ground floor and vacant office space on the uppers. We've got the left-hand side, which is currently tenanted by William Hill, and that's on a lease until January of 2024. And we've got the vacant right-hand side, which was previously let to a bank. What I'm proposing to do is, under the Class MAPD rights, convert the uppers into office space. So meeting the minimum standards of 37 square metres, and also using the rear part of the ground floor commercial unit that's vacant. Anticipate we can get 8 apartments in that space, and will give us a total GDV of 2.1 million.
And can you just go into the total GDV? Because I wasn't entirely clear how you'd worked that out. You've got the 220 for the 8 apartments, that gets you to 1.76. And then the retail units, you've got figures times 10. Can you explain that to me?
So the annual rent of the unit that's let to William Hill, that's £22,000 per annum. So I've multiplied that by 10 to give its commercial valuation. So we've got 220k for that unit.
10% return.
10% return.
Yep.
And for
Sensible.
the vacant unit, because I anticipate using some of the back space for another single apartment, I've spoken to agents, and because of the lower square footage, they anticipate an annual rent of £14,000, which takes me to the valuation of £140,000.
Okay.
But your plan is to keep all of this?
So one of the options is to keep the whole lot. The other option is to sell.
So you've got the purchase price at 970,000. Where are you up to in that process? Is it just on the open market? Are you well progressed? Is the offer accepted? Where are you up to?
So the offer hasn't been accepted. It's on the open market. I actually saw the property last week, and the first round of offers closed Friday just gone. So the agents first mentioned a price of between 8 and 850k, and then a week later they mentioned a figure closer to £1 million. So I'm not sure whether it's the amount of interest they've got or whether they're trying to push for a higher figure. So I've actually...
Both, probably.
Yeah, so I've actually gone in with an offer of 930, although I've written a figure of 970 in the pack, because I'm not quite sure where this may end up.
No, well, that's very sensible.
And do you know at what price the deal doesn't work anymore?
I presume if it goes over, say, 1.1 million, it's probably not worth it.
You're looking to build how many apartments?
8 apartments.
And those are all on the first and second floors, is it?
Yeah, that's right.
4 apartments per
There's
floor.
actually a central courtyard in between, so the shape of the building doesn't match what you would think from the outside. So the upper floor, above one of the commercial units that's vacant, there's 2 floors. Above the William Hill, there's only 1 floor.
Right.
So on the second floor, there's actually less space, so there'll be 2 apartments maximum on the second floor. There'll be 5 on the first floor and 1 on the ground floor at the back of the retail unit.
Have you actually done a block plan of roughly how those apartments will be laid out? The reason I'm asking is because it seems like a very deep building, and then you've got light issues because all rooms have to have natural light for habitable rooms.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering about the depth of that floor plate, whether you know you're going to get that many apartments there.
I don't know for certain, but I've requested an actual floor plan with measurements from the agent, and he's pushing the vendor to actually produce that. So my offer that I did put forward was subject to having the floor plan and the correct measurements.
Good.
But there's also, with the courtyard inside, there's also windows that look into the courtyard.
Yes.
Although it's probably not the most desirable for those apartments, we still have enough natural light so that we can utilise the space.
You're saying about 50,000 an apartment, so based off 37 square metres, that's about £150 per square foot. Is that what you've estimated it to be?
A builder was on a
125.
video call.
Yeah, you calculated pretty better than my head. So
Yeah, it's 125.
it was a 125. So yeah, sort of even lower then. Talk to me about that, because how you come to that figure.
Yeah, so I had a builder on a video call who took around the place, and he estimated at roughly £40,000 to £45,000 per apartment. And so I added on a 10% contingency to that to arrive at the figure of £50,000 per apartment.
Okay.
I don't think that's unreasonable with what you've done. I mean, it's so difficult at the moment because, you know, costs are going up. It wasn't that long ago when it was £100 a foot to convert an apartment, you know, certainly outside London. I've just finished 2 in Kingston, and we were so a little bit historic because it was, you know, it's taken 9 months to do, and that was about £135 a foot. So I think probably, depending in London, maybe 150 is a bit more realistic. Maybe it's so difficult until you get a full schedule of works, which is what you have to do on every development, a full schedule of works, so the builders can are all competing on the same basis. It's very hard. It is hard to estimate, especially at the moment. But I think what you've said is reasonable. Don't you think so, Nicholas?
I think, yeah, it's reasonable. It's on
Yeah,
the low
to
side.
start
I mean,
with,
as a construction cost,
Yeah.
and then of course you put in some professional fees
Yeah.
at about 30 grand. But you know, usually on a site of that size, you're going to need a full professional team and consultants,
Yeah.
and it can rack up, you know, with reports
Okay.
and, you know, contamination and highways and all acoustics and all the rest of it. You know, and so
Okay.
your professional fees, I think, probably a little bit light at 32,000.
Yeah.
I think Nicholas is
tweak
being
there,
a
but
bit picky, to be
not a
honest.
million miles off. It's not a million
No,
miles
I
off.
think that's.
It's good you put it in there.
I think that's really important because this is affecting your return on cost and your return on GDV figures, which is what I really look at. For example, there's no contingency in there.
The contingency is kind of built into
the
the GDV price. So per 1 bed apartment, I've calculated an estimated value of 220,000.
Yeah.
Apartments in the area, although different shapes and sizes, some are purpose built, some are split
Yeah.
in between 2 houses. They sell for a minimum of £250,000.
Okay.
So I've actually
so
taken
you've put
off.
it in there, but you've got to be careful, because if you've got a flat above a shop, which these are, they're going to be worth less than a purpose-built flat. So
Yeah.
you're very easy to get misled by average, you know, per square foot and all this business,
Yeah.
because they won't be as attractive as a purpose-built block, depending where the purpose-built block is, of course. If it's in a rough area, then these will be more attractive.
The other problem with that, and this is kind of, you know, for the viewers to understand, is that if you need to call on that contingency, you can't call on it off the future price of your exit.
Spot on.
You need to be able to spend that money now, so that contingency categorically has to be accounted for in costs up front.
Okay.
And it also needs to be available.
Yeah.
Because it's I know some people have put it in thinking it'll never be needed.
Yeah.
And of course the contingency is needed. Quite often it's needed.
One of the nice benefits
Always
of doing
needed.
premises above retail and developments like
Are
this.
there any?
Oh, there's plenty.
Really?
Unlike doing new builds and all of that, you've got a cash flow from day one because you've got a tenant in there paying something.
Well,
So that can be handy, and it's not a bad thing because it's very rare to have a development project unless you're doing shops and uppers where you got cash flow from day
yeah,
one.
that's true. That's true. The one thing I would say, I've had, you've got William Hill on the ground floor, and I had a William Hill in Buxton in Derbyshire, and I decided to sell, and I'm glad I did, because they moved out 2.5 years later.
You didn't think they were a fair bet?
Very good, very good. In the fact, no, I didn't think they were a fair bet at the time, actually, Ranjan. I was, although they'd refurbished it, I was worried about the market's changing, you know, for betting shops, and it's all going online, isn't it? So be careful of that. It's great that you got them there for 2 years, but I think you have to assume they won't be there after that.
Property Elevator is proudly sponsored by Crowd Property. Property Elevator is proudly sponsored by Crowd Property.
If you stick in contingency and you add in
10%,
extra
yeah.
for the professional fees, I think you're looking more at a 1.7-ish total cost.
Yeah.
So you're then at a return on cost of 35-ish.
35 what?
%.
That's pretty good, isn't it?
It's not as good as 46 where you started out.
No, but realistically, you know, we're here to help and to advise as well, as much as we are to help fund a deal. And if you end up at 30%, I think that's good. So I won't worry too much about that.
And of course, are we missing a little bit of a trick here that you put it in the proposal, the airspace rights. I mean, if you can get this extra floor, this dramatically changes your numbers, doesn't it?
It does.
So these are the worst case scenario numbers anyway.
That's right. Yeah.
How are you
let's not
proposing
forget
to
that.
implement the airspace rights?
So if you have a look at the images above the William Hill shop, there's a first floor where the windows are.
Yeah.
And then there's the brickwork, which is on the second floor. So behind that is actually just empty space.
Yeah.
So although it wouldn't be covered under the PD rights, it would require planning. We could actually apply for planning permission to build in that space and actually even a further floor above. So that will give us potentially an extra 4,500 square foot worth of, residential space.
Do you have funds available yourself, that sort of thing?
£200,000.
Always good to have skin in the game. We like that.
Well, I'll start if I may.
Okay.
I like you.
Thank you.
I think you're investable. You're very bright, articulate. If you put in your 200,000, into the project, I'll put in the balance of the capital that is required to purchase and develop it after the bank have said what they'll do. I'll personally guarantee it, and on that basis I'd go 50-50 with you on the deal. That's subject to us buying for around £1 million. So that's a firm offer from me.
For this, there's not enough granularity and clarity in the numbers, so that makes me uncomfortable, so I'm not in for this one, but wish you luck.
Kind of just going along with Helen. Helen's a very smart lady. She said it's more likely 1.7 million, so I tend to agree with her. When you bring the total cost to 1.7 million, assuming you get that purchase price, which you may not, it might be higher, and then you talk about, so let's say you put in the 200 grand, I'd probably need to put in about another 400 after the finance. The finance is going to cost at least 100, probably more like 150. So the return on cash is only about 30 to 40%, which I think any sensible investment is 100% return on cash. So it's just not good enough on the money that's going into it.
I agree with a lot of what's been said. I actually think it's going to be a challenge to get the number of flats that you're first proposing, simply because of the floor plate layout. So that for that reason, I'm not sure whether it's one for me.
It sort of looks like a good deal on the face of it. It's quite hard to find sites at the moment. It's a conversion, it's under PD. It's in a reasonably good area in terms of it's London, it's East London, it's up and coming. It's got some good capital growth potential. I think you know where I'm going with it. At this stage, what you presented, it's too high risk, and I don't think it will stand. So
you've got one offer. I wouldn't listen to these all the negativity in the room because
reality.
No, I'll tell you what the reality is, Nicholas. I've got a lot more experience in dealing with this sort of thing than you have, and you've got more experience in other areas. I accept that, but I believe, especially if we get the air rights, which I have a sneaky feeling we might on this, we'll make plenty of money if we can buy it for the right price, and I'll be delighted to work with you. So the choice is yours. You've got one choice or no choice. So you can walk away here find someone else to work with, or you can accept my offer.
John, I'd like to accept your offer.
That's lovely. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Well done.
Cheers, John.
I said, don't listen to the negativity. Honestly, don't know what's wrong with you lot today.
I think you've got a pig in a poke.
Well, I think it's going. You're down the betting shop, John, on that top floor, aren't you?
Honestly, don't know what is wrong with you lot today. For me, that's nearly the perfect deal, and I'd do deals like that every day of the week if I could find them.
Well, you know what you say.
And he's putting in 200,000 of his own money, which I love because it shows commitment, and he is very investable.
You know what they say, if you do a deal with the bookie, it's the bookie that wins.
The bookie's moving out in 2 years.
So, how'd you get on?
Yeah, really well. It's quite nerve-wracking in there.
Yeah.
Got a lot of good advice from the angels.
Good.
And ended up getting one offer from John.
Brilliant.
which is, yeah, amazing.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So what are the next steps for you?
So next step is to finalise the offer on the property. Fingers crossed we get it for the right price.
Yeah.
And just get a few more builders quotes and yeah, move on from there.
Ruth, thank you for coming with us today.
You're very welcome. Very exciting.
Yeah, I bet. It's a little bit nerve-wracking at the same time, but I'm sure you're really, really raring to go, aren't you?
Someone once said nerves is the same as excitement, so I'm just trying to see it like that at the moment.
For
So,
sure.
Yeah.
So tell us about the deal that you've brought today.
Yeah, okay. So what I'm pitching today is probably quite different to what other people have been bringing along.
Good,
because,
different is good.
Yeah, I'm really interested in trying to gap a market for accessible housing.
Right.
There's a massive shortage in this country.
Right.
And so what I'm going to be proposing is actually a bungalow. And we're looking to use the assisted sale technique. So where we have an agreement with the seller, we'll come in, do the adaptation, and then it goes onto the market for a family with a wheelchair user to come and purchase, and then the profit is taken at the end of that process. But the idea is to be able to do that en masse, and so hopefully it's not just this one project.
Yep,
I'm looking for the
scale up.
investor to basically get on board with the whole concept of producing accessible housing so that we can actually get more houses out to the market.
Excellent, that's really exciting. And so what location is this?
So the property is based in Gloucester.
Yep.
So I'm actually based in Cheltenham myself.
Okay,
so
so
it's
close.
nice and easy.
Yep.
Yeah. I do like to keep an eye on the projects myself, so do some project management.
Yeah, so you have that level
so-
of control there as
yeah.
well, which is always great.
Exactly. But the idea is that we can start in that area, and then basically the idea would be to try and scale this to try and get it out to as many different towns as we can, really.
Excellent. And so how much funding are you needing today?
So the deal today, we're looking at £83,000, and that's just to cover the cost of the works and then some legal fees as well.
Yeah.
But by doing the assisted sale, it just reduces the overheads and the expenditure because we don't have to worry about stamp duty and those sorts of things.
Yeah.
So it's allowing us to get to the same end result as doing a flip, but hopefully in a much easier and more investable process, shall we say.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Great. Well, I've got my fingers crossed for you.
Thank
We're
you.
going to send you in now,
Thank
and
you
I
very
will
much.
chat to you when you get out.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Afternoon, Angels. My name's Ruth Hunter. I own Veritas Property and I'm based in Cheltenham, and today I'm bringing to you a property that's based in Gloucester, and we're looking to do an assisted sale, and to do that we are looking for investment of £83,000. The idea of an assisted sale has come around because currently in the market, I'm sure quite a lot of people might have already explained that finding deals that stack, certainly on a flip, is really hard at the moment. So we are using the assisted sale to get to the end result, which is the same as a flip, but reducing the overheads and the costs that are involved in that process. So by doing the assisted sale, or in the same maybe a purchase option, we would have an agreement with the seller. So we agree the sale price, the strike price. And then we have the agreement under a license to alter, where we can come into the property to do the adaptations. And what I'm actually focusing on is actually adapting properties to provide accessible housing for families with wheelchair users, because there is a huge shortage of this type of property in the current market. Currently, we've got 1.8 people that have said that they have accessible needs in this country. 700,000 of those are actually in the top half of the national income distribution. And 400,000 of those people are actually in unsuitable properties that haven't been adapted and aren't accessible. So there's a huge supply and demand crisis going on in this country, and this is something that I'm hoping that you might be able to help me address. So then going on to this property here, currently Stanley Road is unoccupied and it's a probate, so probate has been granted. And we're currently looking for vendors who are in a position where they maybe don't need the money now. So that's where the assisted sale would work, because we can gain access into the property to get the works done. And also vacant possession for that reason. Stanley Road is a 3-bedroom detached bungalow in an area of Gloucester called Quedgeley, which is a really popular suburban area, loads of good amenities and very close to the M5 as well, so really good access and good bus services. Currently, the property needs some modernisation and renovation, and I'm actually working with an amazing architect called Amy Frances Smith, who is a specialist in accessible and inclusive design. So together we have already put together some plans which you've got in the pack to show you how we can adapt the property. The idea is to actually convert the garage into another bedroom. So we would actually increase the property from a 3-bed to a 4-bed. And the other considerations that we have to look at when finding these types of properties are wide hallways. We need to be able to widen the doorways to a minimum of 36 inches. We need to have free-flowing space for them to be able to have turning circles in the bedrooms, living room, kitchen and bathrooms. We would actually combine what's currently a toilet and a bathroom into a fully accessible wet room. And basically then do the adjustments, things that are needed and very simple to do, like raising plug sockets, lowering the light switches, and designing a really beautiful, modern, accessible kitchen. So my proposal is to ask you to help me raise the funds to do the investment, to do the refurbishments.
Yep.
The cost of works are coming in with contingency at £80,000. With regards to security, we would have an RX1 on the property, which would be placed onto land registry, and obviously once we have a buyer at the end of the process, that RX1 will be lifted.
Can you just explain what RX1 is?
An RX1, yeah, certainly. So that's where a restriction on the property is placed onto land registry, meaning that if the owner of the property were to try and sell it, they basically need our permission to do so. They can't.
It used to be called a caution years ago.
Did it really?
Well, you learn something new.
Learn something
There,
new
every day's a school day.
There
So
you go.
yeah.
Yep.
So basically we would have an RX1 in place. And the idea is that we will actually be marketing this property to an end buyer during the process using 3D visuals and a marketing campaign to advertise the fact we're producing accessible housing. Okay. So I'd love it if you could help me solve a huge problem in the property industry.
Property Elevator is proudly sponsored by Crowd Property. Property Elevator is proudly sponsored by Crowd Property.
Ruth, for our 80,000, what do we get?
So I have proposed a 15% return, and that is based per project. So the idea is the timescale to do the works on a property without having to go into extensions or building. If we're just doing internal works, that project can be turned around in 10 to 12 weeks. And then obviously the idea would be to try and market the property within that time so that we can reduce down the actual then conveyancing sale period thereafter.
Okay.
But if we're looking at a standard conveyancing once we found a buyer, 12 to 20 weeks. So really we're looking anywhere between 6 to 8 months from beginning works to the sale going through.
Okay. So Ruth, I'm giving you 80,000 for 6, 9 months, whatever it might be, hopefully less than a year. And what are you making?
Well, basically that will come down to the end value of the property.
Yeah, on this particular deal.
On this particular deal, so worst case scenario, and having spoken to many agents in the area to understand, so the end value of this property hopefully will be anywhere between sort of 500 to 530. They're saying 530, so I should hopefully be walking away with about £45,000.
Not 50-50 then, is it?
No, not a 50-50 deal, but the idea is to then go again and go again and go again.
Do you have £83,000 to be able to pay back to me if this deal doesn't make any money?
Yeah, so the money, if you look at the figures there, then the money is there. If we were to sell at the lower end of the market, the money's still there for you to get your money back, and plus the interest as well.
Nicholas, you like looking and thinking outside the box?
I certainly do, John. I certainly do. And I do like these kind of deals, and they've definitely got their place for, in place of having to buy it. They've got their place in the market, in the property investment market. What it also has is risk. You're putting this 80 grand into a property you don't own, an RX1, a charge on the property is all very well to protect that. But as Paul's highlighted, if it doesn't sell for as much as we hope, the market crashes. There is a war going on at the moment at the time of filming. There are market shifts. We're still not quite out of a pandemic, arguably. It's quite a limited resale market compared to the whole market.
Yep.
So, we are limiting that as well. and that money's at risk. You know, if you buy the property, you own it.
Yep.
And that can be sometimes a better use of funds. And for, you know, something at a value of, you know, what are you buying it for? So is it 400 grand?
390, right price, yeah.
Yeah, so you're almost, with 80 grand, you're almost, you know, you're very much almost buying that property. And then you could possibly fund the development 80 grand with funding. So it's kind of, you know, you're achieving the same thing, but you don't own it, which I think almost on this deal, it almost makes it the wrong way of doing a deal. You know, it's
You'll
like,
see there is exit plan B, which if in the event it doesn't sell on the market, then there is the opportunity where we would have to put in more funds to complete the purchase.
okay,
But that's where the extra costs come in with regards to the stamp duties and the conveyancing and all of that sort of thing.
Okay.
So in the event the property didn't sell,
yeah,
then there is the opportunity to then hold it. We would have to come to some form of arrangement, whether, you know, I get paid a management fee or what have you, and you then own the property. That's my risk, that I would be putting all the work in and I walk away with nothing, so to speak. But there is that way that I have that protection from my investors. If in the event that the sale doesn't go through, there is an opportunity where that your money is still protected because it is still in the property. And the rental market, it is a huge market with regards to accessible housing. I've been working with a chap called Guy Harris. He runs Accessible PRS, and accessible housing is a really big problem. And not only just for wheelchair users now, we have to address the fact we are an ageing demographic. And our stock does
don't
not
depress me,
cater to
Ruth.
that.
I hit
I wasn't going to say anything.
actually hit a certain...
not
She
all
was
of us
looking at you when she
She
said
was looking at
that.
me.
I'm
Not
right.
And
John's having a tough
I
day
hit a
today.
significant figure recently, and it does make you think. And I've sold a couple of sites to the assisted living over 55 market. And Ranjan could both move into those developments.
I'm a few years off.
A few years off.
He's done it again, Ranjan.
But it is a sector which is becoming more popular for a reason.
No, it is, and it's without question the biggest growing development market, new build market in the UK is over 55s, over 60s, whatever you want to call it.
We off a stage now. Is that where we are?
I think we are.
I think for me, and look, I love the creative finance, and I love what you've done. You've been very creative, and you've achieved a lot using those strategies. I think the proposition with regards to 15% returns is more of a proposition toward non-property people, in my opinion.
Yep.
Where we, certainly me, and I think I speak for the other angels when I say this, where we like to not only, you know, put in money, but also add value.
Yep.
And that generally would come with, you know, a split of equity. But I don't think this proposition is something where, again, in my opinion, any of us could add an awful lot of value because it's relatively straightforward.
Yeah.
And therefore, you might be better suited to go to someone who isn't a property person and probably sees a 15% return over 6 to 12 months. That's quite a good return.
That's a very good return.
We'd be delighted with that.
It's a great return.
Well, it's a lot more than my other investors are getting, put it that way.
Yeah, so for those reasons, it's not for me.
That's fine.
Ranjan?
I like you and what you've done. I also like the proposition and the market that you're aiming at. But for me, I think this assisted sale way of doing it is a little bit of a convoluted way of doing it.
Okay.
And I think it also limits your deal flow.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you were prepared to do it in a way where we would, you know, basically help you fund these and buy these things outright, do the modifications and then sell them on. And it was that kind of basis on an ongoing, sort of set up a company to do it on an ongoing basis, which we'd sort out the funding for. That would be a proposition I'd be much more interested in. But the way it's presented, it's just not for me.
I think the problem at the moment is once you start adding in the stamp duty and all of the extra costs, you've eaten all the
That's
all
because
the
you're not buying them right.
As Paul said, kind of the 15% interest and the kind of the security, which is not really how I define security as an RX1, that doesn't work for me. But I think you're absolutely on the right track, and your knowledge on this and your explanation of it, because quite frankly, a lot of us didn't know kind of what that much about assisted living. So thank you. We've learned a lot, and I'm sure the viewers have learned a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm sure you'll be inundated with offers.
Thank you. Well, if I've done nothing more than raise the profile
Awareness.
of accessible living, then my job is done.
Well, you might have done better than that yet. Right.
Oh, yeah, true.
Nicholas.
So what you-
I you know, not wanted to invest in something more and a cause
Yes.
more worthy
Yeah.
on this show yet. And you're exemplary. You've done a brilliant presentation. The deal, as you've presented today, unfortunately, isn't investable for me. I'm a developer. I don't want to reiterate everyone else's views. I want to add value. I want to build a business with you. This doesn't do it, I'm afraid. This is more for a retail investor.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I won't be investing today, but good luck on your journey.
Thank you very much.
Now, I'm fairly cynical, Ruth, and I do want to get knighted before I retire. So, Sir John
You've got
Howard
years
has
yet,
Sir
haven't
John
you?
Howard has a
Wow.
certain ring, I feel. But anyway, to do so, I need to do something good for the community. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. That's the truth. So, I've got a fairly large facility to purchase at auction, and it's a revolving facility. And I don't have to provide a valuation to the bank prior to completion. But once I'm given that facility, I need to start spending it. So my thinking is this. I'm not interested, and I don't think you should be that interested, to be honest with you, in the proposal you brought. This proposal is for people with less ability than yourself, with all due respect to other people. And it's a great start for certain people, but you are beyond that. You need to raise the bar, because you are well beyond this type of deal, if you like. And there's people who it works for them, and that's wonderful, but you're not that person. There are 3,500 properties sold at auction every month in the UK. Okay? Out of that, there are a certain amount of bungalows. The government appreciate, and there is a massive shortage of bungalows across the board because people are getting older, and they realise this. So, if you speak to me next week, I think we can pull some sort of joint venture together where you go out, look for bungalows in auctions, and we're not messing around waiting to buy it and all this caper. We go to the auction or online, we buy it, refurbish it, sell it. We go 50-50.
Listen, Ruth, if you accept his offer, make sure you negotiate a damehood out of it. You deserve something out of it as well.
Dame Hunter, I like that.
Dame
That sounds
Hunter.
pretty good, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
that has a
It's got
certain
ring.
that has a certain thing.
Got a
We can,
ring.
and we can do it together. Well, your husband's involved, I'm sure, as well. The three of us can do it together. So
He lets me spend the money on property. so,
excellent.
yeah.
Well, I'll do the same on the basis that it really stacks up.
Yeah.
And that is the challenge always. I'd rather do one deal that stacks up than I would 10 that don't.
Yeah.
So that is the key. But let's speak next week and let's see what we can do. Have a think about it over the weekend if you want, and then we can speak next week.
I
How's
don't
that?
think I need to give any time to that. That's a fantastic opportunity. So yeah, I'd like to accept that deal. Thank you.
Pleasure.
That opportunity.
Not at all. Not at all. What do we think of Ruth?
She's super. You know, I think we all learnt something there. And what
Inspiring.
she's doing exactly, what she's doing and the difference that she's making is absolutely commendable. And I think she's going to go far. Somebody with that amount of determination, she's going to go far.
I think we've heard it all. I mean, I've heard of cash for honours. Now it's property deals for honours, John.
Well, they say, you know, we've said it so often, Paul, haven't we, about, you know, invest in the person. I've heard you say that at your seminars and all sorts you do. You know, invest in the person as much as the deal, and that is the person to invest into.
Of course.
Yeah,
And
I think she was great. The deal just wasn't.
no, and she,
She
and
should be doing
she's
something. What you
the
said is
concept
exactly
is
right.
good.
She should be doing something better.
she's above all that.
Yeah.
You know,
You know,
she's above all
deals
that.
with 10 to 15%
That was a good
uplift
point.
in them
Very good
aren't
point.
where you
And
wanna be.
I feel I can help her get to where she wants to get, and help me get my knighthood. I'm not sure that would just be on that basis, but I mean, you never know.
So Ruth, tell me all.
That went better than I had anticipated.
Good.
I did think that potentially the deal might be a bit small fry for them, and the
Okay.
idea was obviously to go for scale, which is potentially what's going to happen.
Brilliant. Tell me more.
Yeah, so they all said that the objectives are fantastic and that my reasons were, you know, really valid, and they would really love to get involved in something which had so much meaning and basically helping other people.
Yeah.
But that particular project wasn't for them. However, John has given me an opportunity to JV with him, and basically he's got access to auctions. And so the idea is that we actually go shopping for bungalows, which we can then convert into accessible living.
Brilliant.
So it is now taking it onto a much bigger scale.
Yeah,
but yeah,
next level.
But yeah, they were amazingly, they were so complimentary about me and stuff. So
Good.
Yeah, I'm really glad I did it.
Happy days.
Yeah.
So is it time for a glass of wine?
Absolutely. I might even go bubbly.
Good. Well, best of luck with moving forward with John.
Thank you.
Hope it all works out, and please keep in touch and let us know how you get on.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks.
Well, it's been a great day here at Property Elevator. That's all we've got time for though. We'll see you next time.
Property Elevator is proudly sponsored by Crowd Property.